Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Leadership Lunch Chat. I'm Jennifer Wilson, and with me today is my good friend Amy Vetter. Amy, hey.
Hello. It's been a while. Happy to see you.
I know we will be rusty in this conversation because I don't know, we've had like 3 or 4 weeks off.
I
And not
know.
not really though. I mean,
Yeah.
when we're missing Leadership Lunch Chat, it means that we're traveling all over the country doing all kinds of crazy stuff in our peak season as consultants in the accounting profession, and we're here to talk and process leadership issues related to the accounting profession and just life in general. And today, Amy and I thought that we'd talk a little bit about, attracting talent, and in particular, young people, the youngest people, the earliest part of the talent pipeline to a career in accounting. Like, why be in the accounting profession, and what could we, those of us that are in the accounting profession, do to really welcome a next generation in and encourage them to join us and have them, want to be part of our community and work with us to serve clients and really to serve all businesses and individuals. So that's what this conversation is about, and it kind of leverages or springboards off a conversation that I had with the RightWorks community at the Right Now conference last week, where we talked about the National Pipeline Advisory Group's strategic plan for the pipeline, which is bigger than the early stage young people. It's the whole profession and how to grow talent and develop talent and encourage talent. And so, but we did talk about like how can we get young people in? And Amy has been very busy, always attracting people into accounting and helping people in accounting. But lately, she's had her son that she's brought to various events and things. And so I'm going to ask you, Amy, to sort of tell a little bit about that story and what some of your observations have been, and then we can see where that takes us, if that's okay.
Yeah. I am very excited. I never pushed my children to go in one direction or the other. And the story with my son is he started out saying he was going to be in architecture. And 3 days in, I got a text that was very long that said, I'm a business person like you. I'm signing up for business tomorrow. And then he went into finance originally, and his first class was Accounting 101. And then he called me. He's like, wait, I thought that was finance. I like accounting. I'm like, how did we get here? So, um, and it's been really awesome to share it with him after all these years of him kind of watching in the periphery of the things that I do, maybe half paying attention and now really paying attention. And so, one of the things that I thought was important for him this summer, so he's going to be a junior, and we have a lot of conversations about, him going to recruiting events, or he's part of a business fraternity in his college. And just the misinformation that happens for college students, not necessarily misinformation, well, some, but there is a lack of all this other information of what the opportunities are in this profession, and really trying to visualize where you go. Because like him and many young students, your first jobs aren't the most exciting in accounting. And, those are the things that everybody hears about. They have fear of what that's going to be like, of what the things that they hear, instead of really looking at these are the things you have to do in order to get somewhere in accounting. Like, what does that future look like? And they don't really see that. So I have the honor of being on council, and that's part of AICPA. They meet twice a year and bring in all representatives from every state society. And I thought, well, this could be a great opportunity for him to see the profession and see what all these different people do, and what it looks like, and all these partners that are in a room. And he just walked away so excited. And the one thing that he really took away was that, we were going to dinner with partners, and normally in recruiting events, he would be so nervous to be around a partner, and they were treating him as one of them, right? And I think that went a long way, and I think that matters in recruiting of, it's not that it's someone new, it's that they are your future partner one day, and really thinking about yourself at that stage. And so he was so appreciative of not only that, just how they were asking him questions and what they were telling him that was important, and then learning about what everybody did, that there were so many different expertise there. Not even just, we met tax people, and when they think about it in college, they're thinking about it as personal tax returns, where they're in corporate strategy on specific so you don't learn about all of these opportunities or even get a flavor of what that's like in real life. And so it was just really exciting to be a part of it with him and see it through his eyes.
I love it. And you know, you wonder, like, I'm obviously we can't all take our future up and comers, they can't all go to council, right? So how could we emulate some of what happened there, like the
Hmm.
experiences? And definitely we need to tell the story, and we need to tell it on campus. We need to tell it earlier. The NPAG report has quite a bit of data about people choosing their majors before they enter college. And so at middle schools and high schools, we should even be going in, those of us that are in accounting, and looking for opportunities to come and share our stories, our career pathways, what we do, who what kind of work we do, what that looks like from a like how technology forward it might be, or how much client interface, or like where the advisory is versus the compliance, and
Hmm.
just all the pieces and parts, and sort of how each person, each one of us got here. How'd you get here? And I think that story being told, and many of us trying to find a way to get in front of young people to tell those stories, is critical. And
Hmm.
I think professors at community colleges and universities, they're welcoming of that. And I think high school, especially, they're doing lots of aptitude tests these days, career aptitude tests. Middle school, it starts, and so that they're already starting to think, what do I want to be when I grow up? What should
Hmm.
I emphasize in my studies? And in high school anymore, there's a lot of pressure to take AP classes, and there's a lot of pressure to like pick classes that are going to be along the pathway that you're thinking about for your career. I told my kids, I know you don't know what you're going to be. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
don't even think that you're supposed to know. But it's okay to hear all these different possibilities. It's a good idea to look at that. Um, and so anyway, I just think that's a big part of it, is us getting out there and getting in front of these folks at Future Business Leaders of America meetings and DECA meetings. There's J of A, Junior Achievement has quite a bit of different ways that people can come and participate with their groups, and bringing case studies, talking about real life problem solved, all those things will help. We Emily Brantz on our team and I have been working with an individual who's really working hard to bring the accounting story to the Girl Scouts, and they're starting with a chapter, but there's all this career oriented exposure happening at the Girl Scouts, but nothing on accounting.
Hmm.
So just looking for those things in your backyard where you can tell your
Yeah.
story, I think would be really huge.
Well, I think, there was a great opportunity, and it is something that is great to resurface here,
Yes.
with us, is that one of the things that we did at council was visit our state congressman and senate, um, to talk about the initiatives that are most important to accounting professionals and businesses right
Mhm.
now, to advocate
Yeah.
for it. And one of them is STEM. And so, during our meetings, they had Austin, my son, present it himself, to the congressman, and from his perspective, and and what he experienced in high school. And now he goes to college in Florida, and he actually gets some reimbursement for accounting classes, which I had actually no idea till I heard him say it. So, in his upper accounting classes, which I think is important. So it depends on state, but I do think everyone should be advocating for accounting to be part of STEM in their own states. That is one thing that you can do, even if you don't want to get out and speak to a group of, younger children or students, whatever. If we can get that more in the forefront where it's teaching people that never had exposure to this as a profession at a young age, where they start discovering they are good at something or they enjoy it, or it's part of their program. So really important to not forget that initiative, and it happens to be very current in the laws passing right now.
Yes. So, and there's all sorts of apps if you don't know how to reach to your to advocate to your state legislators or Congress people. There's apps that can give you access to their email addresses and their direct phone lines to leave messages. And when you leave your message, be sure you leave your address and city and state and zip so they know what district you're in, and obviously your name, and you tell them the story of what you're advocating for, and those messages count. They tally them, they report on them. It helps sort of influence them, and so that's another thing that you really should think about. Is I love that, Amy, to, getting out there and talking about issues that are important, in particular STEM, and getting STEM allows us to have all sorts of opportunity for young people to be exposed through kind of traditional school systems. And so it'll elevate accounting in a significant way. We definitely should be doing that.
Yeah,
I,
and they
yeah,
had no clue, when we were educating on the STEM. You think we've been talking about it for so long and they just know. Um, they don't. Like, this is really important to do that education because they might not even realize it's not part of it.
yeah, yeah. Well, I love that. And, I was thinking about like, that's the kind of high school or middle school before college. There's also like, those of you who might have a soft place for really young people. Kara Fitzgerald from the Tennessee Society, every once in a while I'll see a picture. She's the executive director and a CPA there. And I'll see a picture of her in a classroom, reading books about a career in accounting to like second graders or something, and there are a number of really cool books on eh, uh, you know being an accountant for little kid books about the pathway of accounting. And I met a 40 under 40 person, I believe that they've been named to that list. And she has a book about Adelaide the accountant, and her name's Rosalind Banks. And anyway, there's a number of different books out there that, if you felt
Mhm.
like I don't really want to go and talk to a group of middle schoolers, that's not where I'm called, but I have some little kids in elementary school, maybe it kills a couple of birds because everybody's looking for people to come and read. So that's a positive thing to do, but just read about your profession a little bit, and just get little ones thinking about, yeah, that's a way of applying math. And, and it's not just math, it's helping others, making a difference for others, that kind of stuff. So anyway, there are lots of ways here to bring our profession forward. And I have to say this, I feel like I say it every day, and it's like most people who might hear me say it are like, oh, be quiet, stop saying that. But I'm serious. Along with telling the story and exposing more young people to this cool profession we're in, and to really think about like the list of stuff you might say about our profession, which maybe, Amy, we could say in a second, some of the things we might say. But over here is something called kitchen table complaining. And those of us that are in the profession, there is something weird about our profession that we enjoy, like talking about how hard it is. And like the red badge of courage that we wear right here for terribly long hours and horribly complex standards, and having a difficult time keeping up. And Just there is some sort of negative story that we tell more than we tell the positive. And I just want to highlight that here, at the intermission or the middle point of our conversation, that we might do all these cool things out there to try to tell people about it, but then at our own house with our own kids, we're talking about how terrible it is. And, maybe at a church or other clubs we're part of or other business meetings we're having, and young people hear it. And your kids tell other people. I had a whole bunch of young people during the pandemic that were my kids' peers talk to me, when I'd say I'm in the accounting profession, they're like, oh my gosh, I've got this friend and his mom, she just sits on the computer constantly and she's complaining all the time, because COVID, we worked alongside our kids. They watched our jobs, in the house, and they were like, "Ooh, that's accounting," So we got to watch that. We got to think about the negative branding we're doing and where are we doing it in social media, at the kitchen table. It's not to hide that we have peak seasons or that we have a complex role. We're not trying to hide it, but we just need to think about the balance of the story we tell out there, I think.
Well, and I think this goes with some of these firms that aren't allowing their CPAs to say CPA on their business cards right now. It's a huge concern, I believe, because I could tell you, like, passing the CPA exam was one of the biggest, if not one of the biggest accomplishments of my life. It was such a focus, and for so many that want to be a CPA, they are thinking about, like, I was thinking about it from the time I was 12. So when I finally got my certificate, it was such a milestone for me and how hard I had to work to get there. And if I was told by an employer that I could not say it and I couldn't put it on a business card, that would just be soul crushing. And so I just want to put this out there as having this opportunity. Sue Coffey put out a LinkedIn post this week, her own thoughts and article around it, which I think people should read, of what is happening and be advocating for that not to happen.
Well, man, you just opened Pandora's box for me. I mean, we didn't talk about this at a time. So,
But it's
like,
part of it if we're
well,
trying to
and
make
let me
sure
tell you,
people are proud of who they are.
well, the thing is, though, that's like a super complex issue, right? Because it's mostly happening, if not exclusively happening, in alternative practice structures (APS) inside PE-owned firms, PE bank-owned, bank-backed, bank-owned firms, and they're building these alternative practice structures to put audit, tax, and any other advisory and consulting. Not audit, accounting, tax, and any other consulting over into these APS. Keep audit separate into this other corporate entity, trade as CPAs and a CPA firm over here on the audit side and say, hey, this isn't a CPA firm. It's just an accounting firm. And we're not subject to state board rules. That's why they're telling people to put the CPA in the drawer. And they're not just saying not on business cards, that you can't put it in your email signature. They want it off your social media. They want it to disappear entirely from anything you're doing from a professional perspective, as I understand it. I haven't read those communications that they're putting out firsthand, but I've certainly, and you and others have heard about them, because they're creating chaos in the APS, because those people, like you said, they value that credential and they believe clients and the public
And we
value.
should.
Yes, that's what I was just about to say.
Yes.
Clients and the public value it. And it's a symbol of trust and integrity and ethics. And also says something about the person who earned it, like hardworking, persevering, really studying and learning. A learner passes that exam. It's impossible to pass it without being a learner. And so anyway, I'm super sad, pretty grossed out by that. I'm really sad. I think instead, those that are going to run these alternative practice structures should learn all about the State Board of Accountancy rules and figure out how to do business in each of the states across state lines and allow their people to use their CPA. And I think it's a big, huge red flag for any firm thinking about taking on or transitioning to a PE structure, that they should know that that's possible for their people in the APS, that might be the direction they're headed, and to pump the brakes before you do that, to understand where the entity is going to fall related to using your CPA licenses, and not just using them, but supporting them with CPE and association participation and all those things that are so critical to us as a profession. So yikes, I agree. And it would be hard for a young person to say, hey man, I really want to get my CPA, but gosh, if I go to certain firms, they won't let me use it anyway. That doesn't make sense. So very interesting disruption there. And there's a whole like 10 leadership lunch chats to be had. Really?
Sorry to end it like that.
And we should start the next one right there.
Next week. Yeah, okay.
Right there. We'll pick up the next piece of caution that we have related to that structure. Thanks. Yeah, thanks everybody for being here with us this Friday. We welcome your thoughts, by the way, on this, and want to hear what you're doing out there to promote accounting as a profession, and love to hear the stories, love to get new ideas. By the way, take the Pipeline Pledge, accountingpipeline.org. Go take the Pipeline Pledge. Promise 2 things you're going to do to help attract more people to this career in accounting. Please take the pledge. Please do something. Please be in touch with Amy and I, and we'll see you guys the next time we're together. And I don't know if it's next Friday or not. We have kind of a little bit of stop and start going on for the next month, but then we'll be back to our regular, consistent cadence. Amy, thank you. I'm so glad to talk to you today and see your face. Thanks everybody for being here.